Warning, this episode contains detailed descriptions of traumatic, violent events that may not be suited for some audiences. Thank you. This episode is brought to you by Volunteer Fleet Services, and today I had the owner, Greg Anderson, to tell you what they're all about.
Good morning, Joe. I'm Greg Anderson, the owner of Volunteer Fleet Services. We are veteran-owned and operated, locally owned and operated, and have been servicing the Murfreesboro area for about 2.5 years. We have a dedicated mobile maintenance team supported by a full-service repair shop. We work on everything from F-150s to FedEx delivery vehicles, all the way up to 18-wheelers. Our mobile maintenance team can come out and provide oil changes, PMs, general repairs, and we cover everything from emissions to mechanical and electrical. If you need to contact us, our number is 615-648-1455, or you can email us at service@volunteerfleetservices.com.
And where can we find you?
We are located at 3939 Richard Reeves Drive, just off of Joe B. Jackson, and that is Suite I, all the way down at the end.
Thank you, Greg. This episode is brought to you by Willard Roofing Renovations of Middle Tennessee. And thankfully, I have the owner, Matt Willard, right here to tell you what they're all about.
What's going on, guys? How y'all doing today? My name is Matt Willard. I am the owner of Willard Roofing Renovations of Middle Tennessee. Started my business about almost 5 years ago now, Joe. And of course, you know I've been in the roofing business for quite some time. So we are located in Middle Tennessee. That's why of Middle Tennessee is pretty much based here. We got 5 consultants that work with us. I don't like to call them sales guys because nobody likes salesy guys. So pretty much what we are is we're roofing consultants, man. We come out to your house, usually either per phone call, after a storm, or sometimes my guys are just out in certain neighborhoods, more or less cherry picking and seeing what they see as far as people's roofs in disarray, knock on the door, ask them if anybody's helped them with their roof. If not, we take the process and take the next step forward and do their inspection, make an assessment of the roof, let them know what kind of condition their roof is in, see if it actually warrants filing a claim with the insurance. And at that point in time right there, we more or less become their advocate. Okay, so at that point in time, we're on the roof. We found what we need to find and everything else. We get insurance involved, have them come out there, have the adjuster come out there, make their assessment of the roof, make sure that we agree on what we're seeing on the roof and everything else to make sure that this customer gets their house taken care of.
Nice, man.
So whether it be wind damage, hail damage, tornado, everything else, roofing, siding, gutters damage, and all that other stuff, we make sure the insurance does their due diligence and takes care of their homeowner.
Good deal, man. And how can people contact you?
Well, my number is 615-956-5775. You can call me directly.
And you're veteran-owned and operated.
Absolutely.
Right?
I've got 3 veterans who work with me now. I believe in integrity first. We're not trying to take people for rides. We're not trying to gouge people and everything else and charge them an exuberant amount of money to get stuff done. If people want upgrades and stuff like that, we let them know what the cost of the upgrade is.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Matt.
Absolutely, brother.
All right, guys, check them out. What is up, everyone? This is Joe Adams, and welcome to the Relentless Pursuit podcast. What we do on this podcast is bring in guests from all different backgrounds, all different walks of life, to share their journeys, their experiences, and everything in between. We touch a wide variety of topics, and we leave nothing off the table. Find some inspiration, connect, and hear some amazing stories that could possibly change your life. Because at the end of the day, what this is about is impact, and that's all that matters. So, if you want something organic, something authentic, unlike anything other, please like, share, subscribe, all those things. If those things aren't for you, I don't know what your problem is, but you need to jump on board. Thank you, and enjoy.
My prayer is answered. This is it.
Yeah.
And so, as high as that was, I started having more of those conversations with God, and it started getting tougher. I thought that was going to be enough. No. I was in meditation. I heard, this is, fast forward a few years now. I hear, your family is going to suffer tragedy because of one of your kids. And I knew right away that meant one of my kids is dying. Like, there's no freaking way, God. Come on, man. This is no way. Look, you've taken me down some pretty amazing journeys testing me, but this one I can't do. I can't do it. There's no way. I can't. And I let that go for a little bit. I just kept, didn't even want to hear it. I just kind of pushed it away. And every now and then it would come back up. And finally I asked my wife, I said, I hear God speaking to me in a way that is kind of scary. He said something like, our family's going to suffer tragedy because of one of our kids. And she looked at me and she says, I've heard the same thing, Rick. Man, there's no way. There's no way. I said, what do you think? She says, I've been told that Michael's not going to be living with us, that he's going to die. There's no way. I go, well, what are you doing? How do you handle it? She goes, I don't know how to handle this one. I really don't. She says, I just keep praying that if whatever happens, man, God, you're going to have to help me get through this one because I can't do it. I said, well, I can't either. There's no way. So we go on, and this gave us an opportunity because we knew that this could be a possibility, and we knew that our son was in the medical cannabis industry. And he'd started the medical cannabis industry because he was just so sick and tired of burying his friends because of the opioid crisis that was going on. Yeah. I mean, friends in high school would, they would get hurt playing sports. Go get some Percocets. Go get some Oxys. Go get whatever. Doctors were throwing candy at them left and right.
Yeah.
And then, okay, well, guess what? No more. And they yank it from them. And now they have to figure out how to wean themselves off of that. And so they would turn to the street and they would turn to heroin. And my son was seeing this, and he was developing his own strains of cannabis that would help people in their different ailments. And that was one of the struggles I had with him because he was doing it in my backyard. He was living in my backyard. He was living in the back house. We had a property that had a back house in it. And so he was living back there. And I would find, little plants. I'm like, what the hell is he growing back here, man? This dude's going down the wrong path. And so I'd have conversation with him. And finally it got to the point where I realized I wasn't going to change him. So I asked him, I said, look, I know I can't change your mind, but I need you to do one thing for me. Tell me your why. I want to know why you're doing this. And he said, all right. So he sat me down on the porch of that little house in the back, and he shared his heart in tears. He was crying in tears. And he says, Dad, don't you see? I've got an answer to the pharmaceutical issues that are going on in this country right now.
Yeah.
The pharmaceutical industry doesn't have our best interest at heart.
Nope.
They are trying to kill all of my friends with all these different drugs. Now, I'm sure there's some that help people. Don't get me wrong, Dad, but the main thing is my friends are being addicted to the pharmaceutical industry's candy.
Yeah.
And they have no way out. And I'm offering them a way out. I'm changing their lives. And he went story after story after story of people he was helping.
Yeah.
And I knew right then, I said, that's coming from your heart, brother.
Yeah, roll with this.
And I can't stop it. Now, here's the problem. You're getting into an industry that's very dangerous. And I know it because I deal with it on a daily basis on the street. I see it every day. I deal with addicts every single day. I deal with the people that are suffering the most every single day. So I know what's out there. I also see the other side of it, the dark side of it, that people are killing people for their drugs. And that's what scares me about you, son, is that you're getting into something where people aren't going to see your heart. They don't give two craps about your heart. All they care about is your product.
Yeah.
And if you got good product, they're going to try to roll you over and take what you have, and it could cost you your life. My wife pulled him aside, and she took him by the cheeks and said, I don't want you to do this. You got to stop. And he says, what are you afraid of, Mom? If I die, I go to heaven, just like you've always taught us. I said, I don't want you to go to heaven.
Not yet.
I want you to be here with me.
Yeah.
I want to go first. I can't handle losing you, Mike. You got to stop this. He goes, Mom, I'm going to be okay. Trust me. Everything's going to be all right. He said, okay. So she gives him his blessing. So now he's got the blessing of both his mom and his dad to go follow his passion, follow his purpose, follow his heart. How could you go wrong following your heart? Well, he ends up getting connected with a man that was twice his age, had a felony or two. His lawyers that were helping him with his business said, whatever you do, Mike, just don't get involved with anybody who's been a felon. Don't do that because they come out of prison and they're not going to have the desire you have. Just make it safe. You don't need to bring any light to it.
And that's not every one of them.
Not
but,
everyone.
you know,
No.
yeah.
I mean, that was the lawyer's advice.
Probably a blanket term.
Yeah, just the lawyers say, once you're such and such, you're always such and such. Once you're an addict, you're always an addict. This is that mentality that's always out there.
Of course.
And they were just trying to protect him. Say, look, just keep it with your friends. So far, everything's going to go well. If it's just your small group, the people, make your circle small. And don't trust anybody outside of your circle. Well, his circle involved one of his best friends. And, the old saying, you don't want to be smoking your own stuff. And unfortunately he was. And so he was delivering under the influence. I mean, he would be smoking weed on the way to go dropping off weed, and he was gotten busted up one of Michael's tires by running up the curb on someone. And it was just causing problems between him and his best friend. So he ends up going to this other guy that they had met mutually who was trying to be a grower. And he completely botched up his first batch and lost everything. Nothing worked. And now he's in debt. His electrical bills are out of whack. I mean, he was just big time in debt. So Michael went to him and said, look, I'll tell you what, if you will let me grow in your garage, I'll teach you how to grow medical grade marijuana that'd be the best you've ever had. And then I can just start buying from you. You be my supplier. And the guy says, okay, let's do it. So they come up with this agreement. Meanwhile, this guy is also delivering for Michael. And as it goes on, the guy ends up becoming, kind of like Mike's confidant, kind of like Mike's
like a mentor.
Well, not like mentor, but more like an enforcer. His protector. This guy came out of prison, had a felony. The very thing that the lawyers told him not to get involved with, he got involved with him, and I think it was more to protect him.
Yeah,
and didn't know that this guy was going to end up being the guy to take him out. And so here we are. My son is finally starting to have this relationship with his little sister, who's now 13, and we've had this feeling that something's going to happen. So we pour into 3 years with Mike, and we're just connecting at a deep, deep level, spiritual level, for the first time. We have this incredible relationship. And I remember thinking to myself, even if Mike dies, Lord, I'm not going to stop loving you, because I know that there's got to be a purpose in it. There's got to be something in it. Yeah. I just don't know what it is. I have no idea where you're taking me, man. I got no clue. But hey, man, I'm going to hang on and take the ride. So I understand. So whatever happens, happens. And, I was explaining to Mike that you can't do this. You're going to have to move out of the house. And he says, okay, I'll move out of the house. He moves out in October. And that was the first Halloween that he came to me and goes, you know what? I'd like to have Victoria over my house, and I want to start pouring into her life. I know she's 13. My son was now 23. And she's just going to need somebody that can guide her and help her through life. And I want to start establishing this relationship with her. And I want to have her come over for Halloween. And so she went over for Halloween. They carved pumpkins. They had this great time. My daughter was just so...
Hey, take time.
She was finally having a relationship with her big brother. She wasn't the little sister that he would pick on. Wasn't the little sister she teased. He was pouring into her. It was Halloween. Had a wonderful time. Oh, man, this is amazing. This is amazing that my son at 23 is recognizing just how valuable pouring into his little sister is going to be. And then it was 7 days before Christmas. Presents are all decorated presents under the tree. Mike's presents are there. Presents he had for us, presents we had for him. 7 days. And we got that dreaded knock that every parent fears. It's the Riverside County Sheriff's Department. What was ironic about that night was my son Kyle was headed to the airport to go on a vacation for Christmas to Maine with his girlfriend at the time. And I had to go to work that next morning. And so my wife was going to take him to the airport. And I stayed in bed. And she had to be the one to get the notice. She comes running in. Running in the bedroom, Rick, something terrible's happened. Something terrible's happened to Michael. And I come jumping out of bed. What the heck? And I go out there. And they hadn't told my wife yet. They just said, "Is your husband home? We need to speak with him too." So I come out, and now I've got Victoria's up. Kyle's already up. His girlfriend's there. My wife's there. It's the Riverside County Sheriff's Coroner's office is there. And she says, "Are you the parents of Michael Cheatham?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "What's happened?" He said, "Michael was killed last night." I thought I was prepared for it. I knew I was getting this insight from God. God was revealing it to us for 3 years. And so I thought I was prepared. And nothing could prepare you for that. Nothing. So the next day, the first thing is I start making these phone calls. Letting people know, man, I ain't coming to work. I called my dad. Man that's already been through so much of his own trauma, lost his brother when he was 15 to a racing accident, lost his dad when he was 21 to emphysema, had his own battles with alcohol. How am I going to call my dad up now? He's been clean and sober.
Now his grandchild.
Now his firstborn grandson been murdered. It wasn't just, accidentally murdered. It wasn't just like a, shooting and then you're done. This guy literally ambushed him in his own apartment with a homemade silencer on a .38 special that he stole from his brother-in-law. And when he shot Mike in the bathroom, when Mike got up to go, they were watching TV together. And Mike said, "Man, I gotta go use the head." Goes to use the head. The guy pulls out this weapon that he'd already had premeditated and prepared. It had a homemade silencer with water bottle, stuffed with microfiber towels. He had it taped to the muzzle. So when he shot him in the bathroom, it missed him. But it didn't rack another round. So the fight was on. So here's my son at 23 fighting this 42-year-old man that outweighed him by 70 pounds. Been to prison. And my boy fought for his life.
God.
He fought so hard. The detective said, "Man, I'll tell you what. Your boy fought for his life. And he didn't give up." Michael was trying to get back to the bedroom where he kept his gun. It to try to defend himself. The fight was going on, wrestling around, gets through the bedroom door. They're still wrestling around, and there was a skateboard that was there. It was a skateboard that my other son bought for Mike. And that dude picked that skateboard up and beat him over the head with it. And he didn't stop there. He kept beating him as Michael was crawling, trying to get to the bed, trying to get to his nightstand to get the frickin' gun. And he kept beating him and beating him. And Michael would get up, kept crawling. And he made it all the way to the side of his bed and collapsed. And then the dude took his belt off and strangled him. Strangled the life out of him. And then decided to play possum as though he was defending himself. The neighbor downstairs heard the screaming, heard the fighting, knew something was going. And in court, I discovered what she heard was Michael's last words. Help me, help me. Somebody help me. Those words run through a father's mind. I wasn't there to help him. I wasn't there for him when he needed it most. In fact, he moved out because I was fearful that I was going to lose my pension if he got caught. He could have been in my backyard. Some bitch wouldn't have done it in my backyard. There ain't no way in hell that would happen in my backyard. But because he was on his own, away from the herd, by himself, in his own room, this guy had the opportunity and took it out on him. In court, we discovered that the weapon was stolen from the brother-in-law. We discovered all the stuff that happened. Guy should have never had a gun in the first place. But to be able to take a man and beat him over the head with a skateboard and then strangle him, the coroner's office said that his injuries were as if he had fallen off a 5-story building head first. God. As a dad, hearing all this, I thought, man, how are you going to get through this, brother? How are you going to get to the other side of this one? You've been challenged, man, but this one, There was a time that I would look at the man that murdered my son, and he was probably no more than 10 feet away from me, his back turned to me, and I was on the front row of that courthouse, or that courtroom, and there was just this little 3-foot banister wall that stood between me and him. And I would survey the room. And I'd look to see where all the sheriffs were, where all the deputies were. Okay, that guy's right there. It's probably closer than where I am, so if he saw me jumping this thing, he'd probably kick me out, so I'm not going to be able to do it with him standing there. If that guy stays over there long enough, I know I can beat him to that chair. All I got to do is wait for that guy to move just a little bit farther away. And I could jump over this banister, and I could break that dude's neck in a minute and be done. Justified. Who's going to hold me? Man, you know what? Let a trial, let a court, let a jury test me. I don't care. I think that I could literally kill this dude and take it out.
Yeah. This episode is brought to you by Middle Tennessee Detail Service, the best vehicle detail service in Tennessee, especially in Middle Tennessee. They take care of my truck out there, and it's always top notch. I'm going to pass it on to their owner, my man Will, and he's going to let you know about what they do.
Hey guys, this is Will from Middle Tennessee Detail Service. We're one of the premium details in the state of Tennessee, certified in 4 different ceramic companies. We do everything from airplanes, boats, RVs, helicopters, campers, and any and every size vehicle in between. We have prices for every budget. We have subscription packages for every budget. And we do everything and anything in between those. Stop on by at 1268 Northwest Broad Street, right next to Crunch Fitness and across from Ascend Federal Credit Union.
Check them out. Thanks.
In my mind, I'm mentally planning how I'm going to take this guy out. And I just keep hearing God speak to me, Rick, that's not what this is about. Vengeance is mine. Let me handle it. But I need this guy to know he messed with the wrong family. I just wanted him to know he was messing with the wrong family. But I didn't. I knew that the journey from here on out was going to be learning how to forgive the unforgivable.
Mm.
You know, there's a lot of people in our lives that we could justify not forgiving. And I had to figure out a way how to forgive the unforgivable. So we go through the trial. The man's convicted. He's not going to get out of prison, except for now he's in California. And unfortunately, in California, they have this stupid law called the compassionate law for anybody who's been convicted of a murder such as this guy was. He can spend, I think it's 25 years in, and if he ages at 65, I think it is, he can come up for parole. Right now, he's not even eligible for parole. So he's in life for the rest of his, he's in prison for the rest of his life without parole. But because this new compassionate law has come in, we got to give him a second chance. Who cares about the victims? Who cares about the parents?
That'll never get that.
Yeah. I live with it every day. I live with the loss. My wife lives with it every day. She lives with the fact that her firstborn is gone.
Man, it's not to interrupt you, but it's eye-opening, I guess, now being a father.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, it makes me want to go into tears.
Right.
Because I can imagine, man.
Yeah. My son, I've watched it nearly destroy him. My daughter. God, my daughter just broken. And I knew I was on a journey of learning how to forgive. And so I thought, okay, God, I can do this. I'll forgive him. And in my head, I forgave him. You know, saying the words. I was speaking the words. In fact, even into the court, when everybody gets a chance to have their impact statements read, I got up and read my impact. And I told him, I said, I forgive you. I didn't realize how hard that was going to be, man. After watching my family suffer, it was bringing it back. Man, this isn't fair that Kyle's got to deal with this, man. He's spinning out of control. This isn't fair. This isn't right. He's got to suffer like this. This isn't right that my daughter's got to suffer the fact that she can't even find a decent relationship anymore. She's dating some of these clowns, and it's not fair that she has to deal with this. She was only 13, for God's sake, just coming into her womanhood, you know? My wife, watching her cry herself to sleep every night and wake up crying in the morning, and just seeing the sobbing emotional impact that it was having on my answered prayer. It was torture for a dad, just torture. And I decided, I don't know that going through and watching it, man, the anger started coming back. I'm like, okay, I got to just push that down, push it down, push it down. So I buried myself into work. I got involved with the union right afterwards. And
needed a distraction.
Being a fireman, you can get distracted real easy from real life. I mean, you're dealing with everybody else's shit. You don't necessarily have to expose your own, you know? And, you know, even though it's hard on families as being a fire family, it's hard on the family. You're gone all the time. And this kept running through my head is that I'm gone a third of the time. So a third of my kid's life growing up, I was gone. I was out. I was at the firehouse. So there's that added emotion that I could have, if it wasn't a fireman, I could have had a little bit more time with him. I could have had at least 6 more years of life with him. But I had this captain that I worked for early on in my career that gave me some advice that helped me get through this trauma in my life. And he saw that I was burning the candle at both ends. I was a fireman by trade, or by vocation, and then by trade I was a carpenter. So every day off, I would go swing a hammer, and I'd make more money. But it allowed my wife to stay home with the kids. Instead of having somebody else raise, at least my wife was there. So I would firefight during the days, and then the next morning I'd get up, I'd go swing a hammer, and I'd do that over and over and over. And this captain, I gotta give his name out because the guy's, he's Mark Novak. And Mark Novak gave me this advice. He was also a contractor, so he could see my life in him. And he said, you know what, Rick? He said, I spent my entire career swinging a hammer on my days off, building homes, doing everything that you're doing. And he said, one of the biggest regrets I have is that I didn't get to spend time with my kids. And he said, take this for what it's worth. Go home and make memories with your kids. And I took it to heart. I told my wife, I said, you know what? And this was early on, so the boys were still little.
Yeah.
And I said, I think we need to make memories with our kids. Mark gave me some of the most wise advice a man could give another man. So my wife and I, we came to Franklin, Tennessee and visited my sister. We sat at the, what's that, Mellow Mushroom there on Main Street there?
Yeah.
And we're eating pizza and we're having this conversation. Okay, so what are we going to do? How are we going to make memories with the kids? What are we going to do? Well, let's go buy a motorhome. All right, let's buy a motorhome. We'll travel. Cool. How about this? Let's buy motorcycles too, man. Let's get into dirt bikes. We'll buy motorcycles, and
Hell yeah.
we'll have a blast, man. We'll go out to the desert. All right. How about some Sea-Doos too, man? You know, we can get on the water. So we did, man. We had the water sports in the summer. We had the motorcycles in the winter. We had the motorhome that we were traveling.
Yeah.
And we were just building memories with the kids.
Mm-hmm.
Just building the memories. Little did I know that one day that's all I'd have. Our memories.
So this was prior to your son?
Yeah, this is all prior. This is way back when, you know. So I bring that up because you never know. Yeah. You never know when life's going to throw you that damn curveball. And if you don't have the memories to fall back on, the regrets will set in and they will destroy you. That's the one thing that I had with me that motored me through this entire grief process is I had memories. Yeah. Had I not had those memories of teaching them kids how to ride motorcycles, getting them out on Sea-Doos out on the river, going on vacations in the motorhome, if I didn't have those memories, I would have lived with regret. And there's nothing worse than living a life with regret. And we chose to make memories. And that's all we had. So we go through this whole murder trial. All that stuff goes on. And I go, okay, you know what? I think I can forgive. I think I can forgive. So the words come out. But work became my outlet to where I didn't really have to dig deep and dive into it. So I get to work and I become a union president. I was voted in the next year after there. And mind you, these guys let me take 4 months off. They worked my shift for 4 months. So I didn't have to take any paid leave. I didn't have to have any out-of-pocket expense. My department, my brothers, they worked for my sisters. They worked for me so that I wouldn't have to for 4 friggin' months. That is a brotherly love that I had never experienced in my life. That's the connection of a fire family. That's who we are about. We're about helping our brothers and sisters in need, not just the public, but our own.
Yeah.
And so having all that it just gave me security. It gave me a sense of purpose. It gave me camaraderie. It gave me the fellowship. So I was never by myself. I was never alone. I always had someone here. I ended up becoming the president of the union, and we had to go through some pretty challenging times in our organization. And I look back on it now and say, that was my grieving process, because I didn't care. I didn't care that I was challenging a fire chief at a level that nobody else has ever challenged a fire chief before.
Yeah.
I didn't care the fact that my career could have been on the line. I didn't care about the fact that, the city was looking at me and saying, dudes, you better pump the brakes here a little bit, man. You're going after this man a little bit hard. And, you're creating a hostile work environment. Man, I'm not creating no hostile work environment. The hostile work environment's already there. I'm trying to protect my membership now.
Yeah.
I'm trying to protect these guys, these women, because they deserve better than what we got.
In a way, you were kind of at rock bottom in in its own way, right? Like, maybe you don't look at it that way, but I've always looked at it like when you got at rock bottom, when you got to lose, you're just like risk it all. So maybe in a different level, like you hit rock bottom maybe when you're going through your addiction stuff, but this was a whole new level because it brought you to a dark place, I'm sure, And that makes sense.
It does, because I didn't care. I mean, all I cared about this at this point was I was a victim of somebody else's actions that I could not control. Now that I'm the union president, I'm not going to let anyone victimize my membership. Yeah. This is in my control. Yeah. I can control this. All it's going to require is me to fight and stand up and say, no, we ain't having this no more. And so as it goes on, I mean, I ended up finally getting a vote of no confidence on this fire chief, and had the highest rate of a no confidence that anybody's ever had. It's like 95% of my membership voted no confidence against this guy. And he ended up having to retire. He was retiring, but he ended up retiring early, getting out of Dodge. But the main fact was that he wanted to bring in his next guy, the next guy to lead the organization the way he did. And I stood my ground against him. And I'm going to repeat something that nobody in the public has ever known. I've said this in private to plenty of folks, and I'm going to use some pretty coarse language, so you might want to put some earmuffs on here. My last conversation with this man was walking into his office. He had me shut the door, and these are the words he said to me. He says, if you think I'm going to bend over and let you fuck me in the ass on my way out, you better think again. And I just step back and I go, oh, I thought we were professionals here, man. But since you pitched the ball, I'm thinking to myself, all right. I said, look, I didn't come here to fuck anybody in the ass, but you've been fucking us in the ass for 7 years, and the fucking stops today. Here's your options. And I laid it out on the line. This is what you got to offer. This is it. And I gave him his options. And he chose to stay and try to fight this thing and try to put his own person in our organization that was not going to have the trust that we needed to rebuild this organization. So long story short, he leaves. We get our new fire chief in. Everything's rolling good. And now COVID hits. And I'm thinking to myself, man, something's not right with this. This ain't right. Something's not right. But I hear everybody, oh, we got to do this and we got to handle it this way. No. This doesn't seem right. This is not right. I saw this hit in November of 2019, and you're all telling me that this is just happening and now we have to prepare ourselves? No, this has been going on. I've watched it. I've seen what this is doing to our geriatric community. So I'm kind of like pushing back, making mask mandates, making all these things that they were trying to do to protect us. Yeah. But I knew that the protection was already too late. Yeah. If we have it, we have it. I mean, and we almost lost some guys. I get it. But something wasn't right. As I'm seeing the direction going, it's just like, man, I'm so tired of this career. I'm just over this, man. I've been fighting this thing. I'm done fighting. I just want to be done. I want to retire. I want to get out of here. And the city offers a golden handshake. Says, hey, man, if you guys who've been on for a while, you captains, if there's anyone that wants to retire early, we're cutting our budget. Disneyland was closed down. As a result of that, that's a good chunk of our budget, right?
Yeah.
You know, so now we don't have any of the transient occupancy tax, the TOT tax that comes in from all the tourism. And so that's our budget. That's our public safety budget, part of it. And so they start making plans, as they should. And I raised my hand and said, I'll go. I'm ready, man. I'm ready to get out of California.
It is time.
I am ready to get out of this career. I'm ready to be done. Yeah. But all this time, you know, I've been so busy. I'm not really grieving, but I got this anger that's underneath. I got this resentment that's building up. I've got this hostility that's right at the surface that could just pop at any moment. And I thought, this is what's going to change things. I'm going to retire. I'm going to live off my pension. I'm going to move out to Tennessee. Life's going to be good.
Yeah.
We find this place. We ended up partnering up with my wife's best friend, and we bought this Airbnb in Nashville, Tennessee, just 15 minutes outside of town. Beautiful split-level home on an acre, big, huge colonial columns in the front, white brick, black shutters. I mean, just a beautiful-looking home in an unbelievable neighborhood. I think the dream is coming true, man.
Yeah.
Yes, all the fruit of my labor is coming to fruition. And I was living on cloud nine, man. I retired in November of 2020, bought a house that same month, moved that same month. I mean, this stuff started happening in October and November. Boom, 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 boom. It's just like the cards were playing out, and there was no resistance. It was just like, this is just so easy. It just happens.
Yeah.
Thinking, okay, this is it. So I get out here, and I'm thinking, okay, now that we're here, we're going to just start having fun. So my wife and I, since we were Airbnb owners, we got to check out the nightlife. We got to find out, where are we going to be sending our guests? They got to know that we've been there. So her and I are just like, it's on the tab. I mean, business write-off. And we are just enjoying retirement. We're going to cigar lounges. We're going to clubs, these just different, and not just
having a blast,
just having a blast, just enjoying our lives, man, just enjoying the live entertainment that is everywhere around us and living our dream in retirement. And 5 months in, I fell and broke my neck and was paralyzed from the chest down.
How did you fall?
I had a syncopal episode. And what that means is I passed out. I went to the bathroom 1 a.m, May 1st, 2021. And I came back from the bath, was kind of groggy. I felt like I was going to pass out when I was at the restroom. So I had to sit down. I ended up coming back to bed and didn't make it. Passed out on my way back to my bedroom and fell face first onto the ground, whipped my neck back. Broke my neck at C4 and 5, which is C4 and C5 is the same injury that Christopher Reeves had, except his was a complete fracture. Mine was an incomplete, thank God.
Yeah.
I had this funny thing. I had this genetic defect where C4 and C5 were fused together. And I knew that, having gone to chiropractic care for most of my life, I knew that those two were fused. Well, the fuse broke. And instead of snapping my neck and completely fracturing my spinal cord, it broke the fusion and sent all the debris into my spinal cord and pinched everything off. So here I am now, paralyzed from the chest down, 1 o'clock in the morning. And
so that benefited you.
It did. It was a benefit. I didn't know
shit.
it. I didn't know it at the time.
Isn't that crazy?
Isn't that wild?
It's fate. It's just crazy how fate plays out like that.
Right.
Because there's plenty of other areas you could have broken.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah. I mean, it really is. When you think about it, I mean, I didn't think about it from that standpoint, but yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was that genetic flaw that saved my life, because everybody told my wife and I, said, you're lucky that you're alive. the fact that you're paralyzed, we'll work through that in your rehab. You'll learn to adapt. You'll learn to get it. And I thought, okay, well, I guess I'm going to have to just do what I've always done and just figure it out, buckle up, and let's get this thing done. So in the hospital, they asked me, what do you want to accomplish while you're here in rehab? I said, I want to walk out of here. And they looked at me like, oh, well, they didn't say it, but you could see it in their face. Like, well, all right, well, then we got to get to work.
Yeah.
I said, well, let's get to work. So, I mean, I was being hoyered out of a bed to get into a wheelchair to drive myself to therapy. And then I'd go to therapy for 3 hours a day. And then I'd come back, and then every single day this was going on. What the beauty of it is that all my brothers and sisters from Anaheim, they flew out every single day. I had somebody at my bedside from my department.
That's
every
awesome.
day. They came. Anaheim, I love you, man.
Yeah.
They came and supported me at a level that I didn't even know existed. I really didn't. They helped my wife get the Airbnb up. I hadn't even got the Airbnb up and running yet. I was still doing in the permit phases, and I was trying to get everything prepared and developed. And I was still doing all the construction stuff and everything. Everybody thought maybe I fell off a roof or something, but no, I just fell coming back from the toilet. Wish it could be something more dramatic than that, but it wasn't. So here I am, have all the support of my brothers and sisters coming in, flying nearly 2,000 miles to be with me. And the nursing staff came to me one day and they said, man, I don't know who you are in your previous life, but I can tell you this. You are a loved man. I said, I am. I truly am. I got a lot to be thankful for, don't I? They said, yeah. We've got people in here with family 30 miles away and we never see them. And you've got people of friendship. You got friends coming from 2,000 miles away and they're with you every single day. They became so lenient. You're only supposed to have 1 or 2 visitors at a time. Man, I'd have 5 or 6 guys in my room all cutting it up with me, making me laugh and just keeping my spirits up, loving on me, loving on my wife. And it brought me up to a place where I got this, man. I can do this. I'm walking out of this freaking place. I don't care what you guys are telling me. I'm walking out of here. And the work began, and damn it, 2.5 months later, I walked out of that hospital without even the use of a cane.
Is that not wild?
Dude, it's incredible.
I think it speaks a lot about your character, because you had such a positive impact on those people. And as a leader and as a friend and the impact you made on all those individuals, why wouldn't they want to come be there for you? So that says a lot about you. Because there's people that, they maybe had been in the position that you were as far as like where you were at in the fire department and whatnot, but they weren't like, they had shitty character. They may not have anybody bedside.
They may not have no friends.
And it brings me kind of back to like my accident being in ICU at Vanderbilt. And man.
That's where I was, Vanderbilt.
Yeah. And I tell you
Stallworth, did you go to Stallworth for your rehab?
No, they actually sent me to a rehab facility here in Murfreesboro.
Okay, because you wanted to be, I had one here that they could have sent me to.
Yeah.
But I wanted to be by home.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, it was great. I mean, they were awesome, and I just like put in that work. But man, I don't think I'm sure you're reflecting on that gratitude right now. Like I remember just being in awe, like just bawling my eyes out because like so many people were showing up, and I had friends fly from out of town, from New York, South Carolina, Connecticut, like just to come be there and see me, and
special.
And it was just so much love, and I think that's like part of my purpose in life is to like repay that in a way.
Absolutely.
because you. I mean, that'll take your gratitude to a whole nother level because you're like, damn, man, I didn't realize this kind of love existed.
Yeah.
So you want to put that out to the world.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what got me through it, man. I mean, I remember the president that took over after I left. I handed the reins over to a man named Rob Lester. Rob's a big old dude, tatted up, biker looking dude. Just like you, man. Except he's got his full head of hair. But anyway, I remember looking at Rob. He was in the doorway as they were hoyering me out of bed, putting me in my wheelchair. And I could see in his face, that's not the Rick I know, man. What happened? That's insane. That 5 months. And I could just see, he didn't ever say it, but I could just see something in him. And when I looked at him and we made eye contact, this thought went through my head. I am not going to be Hoyered out of this bed one more time. This is the last time I'm getting Hoyer lifted out of this bed. So I went to therapy, and I told my therapist, I said, I don't care what we got to do, but I'm not going to be Hoyered no more. I said, whatever we have to do, I'm getting out of this bed on my own somehow and getting in that wheelchair by myself. And from that day on, that's what I did.
Hell yeah.
And when I did that, I knew, okay, if I can do that, if my mind can get in a place where that can be accomplished, I'm going to start walking. So they started walking me, doing these little trainings, little walk. They had the rails on both sides, and you got to walk and hold on the rails, and you got to step up this little stair stepper, and just trying to get me going. I said, nope. You guys got me starting on a 2-inch step. What is that? The Jane Fonda stair stepper is what it was. And it had these little 2-inch and then a 6-inch, and then you put those two together, and that's an 8-inch.
Yeah.
And so it was this Jane Fonda stair stepper. And I remember telling my therapist, I said, hey, instead of this little 2-inch thing here, I said, can I just step on Jane there for a minute? And she's like, what are you talking about? I got the Jane stepper. I said, that thing right there, isn't that one of those Jane Fonda stair steppers? She said, yeah. And I said, I want that on top of this. I want a bigger step. She goes, you're not ready for that. I go, yeah, I am. I want a bigger step. So she put it on there, and I started doing it. I started doing all the training with an 8-inch step instead of just the 2-inch. Then they started walking me up these little stairs that were in the training. I said, no, where's your staircase? I want the full staircase. I want to go up the staircase there and then back down, because that put me in my mindset of being a fireman, because we would constantly work out in staircases and train about how we were going to get up. So they put me up there, and they let me do that. So long story short, 2.5 months later, I walked out of that place. And I got home.
Oh, shit.
And everybody's gone now. So now it's just me and my thoughts. How do I use my hands? I was pulling stuff out of the refrigerator and dropping stuff. I was making a mess over everything. I couldn't hold on to anything. My balance was so off. And I started the mindset started going back to, look at what's wrong with you, instead of look at what's right with you.
Yeah.
Look at how good you have it, man. You could be dead. You could be paralyzed and never walk again. But no, my hands don't work. My body's numb from the chest down. I can't feel my legs half the time. I just feel pressure points. And all the negative bullshit came rushing over me.
Yeah. It's different whenever you have everybody cheering you on.
Yeah.
But then, like, when you're in your own thoughts, that's when things get...
That's when it gets dark again.
Yeah.
So anyway, here we are, man. The thoughts are just
Seeping
in my head, and I'm by myself, and I start to feel sorry for myself. And I'm having a difficult time with it, man. I can see myself going back to the dark place, I can feel myself, that same temptation, and everything's going back, and I'm just fighting it, and my wife can notice it. She's starting to see things, and so she starts saying, you know what, why don't we get involved with some real estate investment groups, and you could use your contracting experience and maybe find some value there. I mean, maybe there's something you could do. You may not be able to do the work yourself, Rick, but you've got it in your head. You know how to do the stuff. There's so much you've got up there you can offer. You just can't do the work yourself anymore. And at your age, you don't need to be doing the work. So she gets us involved with, it's called Seven-Figure Multifamily Live. And that's where, getting introduced to Chad King.
Yeah.
Get introduced to the likes of a Bill Allen.
Good old Chad.
And get introduced to Jason and Peely, Yarusi. And these are they're like the general partners of this group. And they've got hundreds of people attending this thing. And I'm like, man, this is all right. I can see myself going there. All right, we can do this. And so I go through their first session of it all. This is before you actually sign up to go into the program. And it's a couple days. It's a weekend long. And we're going through this thing, and we're hearing all these speakers coming up, and they're trying to get you to motivate us. Hey, pull the trigger, come join our group, and we'll walk you through how to syndicate apartment complexes and buildings, and how to set up legacy for your family and all this. And I'm thinking, all right, man, maybe this is where I need to be. This is kind of the avenue I'm headed down. And I'm listening to it, and there's times yeah, okay, I get it. Nah, I don't know. Yeah, okay, yeah, I don't know. And then it comes to the last day, and they start to tell us what the cost is. What I say now is what the value is. They start to explain the value of being involved with their group. And I'm thinking, holy cow, it's a lot of money. I've got it. It's the last part of my little treasure chest that I had saved up in my deferred compensation that I had. I can do it, but do I want to pull the trigger for this much money right now? And not know if I'm ever going to get involved with it. As far as, I knew my commitment levels. I knew what the power of commitment looked like, and I knew that I'm not on the fence, man. I'm not really committed at the level I need to be. I'm not committed at the level I was becoming a fireman. I'm not at that level. I knew I had to get to that level for me to be able to do it. And so I'm thinking, I'm not there. I'm not going to do it. So I go to lunch after this is the last day, and everybody, we're sitting at lunch, and everybody go, well, you going to do it? I don't know. Are you going to do it? And everybody's looking at it. I go, I don't know if I'm going to do this, man. I'm not committed. I can feel it. I said, but I'm thinking to myself, my wife needs me to do this.
Yeah.
For my sanity and for hers. And we go back in, and the last keynote speaker of the day is a guy by the name of, I think his name is Anthony Trucks. And he wrote a book called Make Shift Happen. And Anthony was an ex-NFL football player, got injured. And his whole identity come crashing down on him. Man, that sounds like me. I'm a fireman.
Yeah.
I was a professional fireman, and I was the guy that solved the problems. And now my identity's come crashing down on me. So he says, you got to make shift happen. It all starts in your mind. You got to make your mind shift. And so I'm listening to Anthony speak, and I'm just like going, you know what? I don't know if I'm committed at the level to get involved in real estate and do what it is, but this guy's making a lot of sense. I know I have to make one step at a time, and right now, if I can just get enough to make the step of moving in that direction, it'll all start coming clear.
Yeah.
Okay, so he ends up doing this, and as soon as he got done, I thought, all right, I'm doing it. I'm pulling the trigger. My wife didn't even know I was doing it. She thought I was, matter of fact, at lunch, I said, no way I'm going to spend that kind of money. So after Anthony spoke, I went up and signed my wife and I up for a 1-year mentorship program underneath Chad, Jason, Peely, and Bill.
Yeah.
And thinking, all right.
Pull the trigger.
I don't know what's going to happen, but
we'll see.
I'll just ride this thing along. And I could feel, I started getting into this thing, and the level these guys were at, I felt like an imposter.
Yeah.
Dude, I felt so out of place. I felt like, dude, if they only knew, man, I have no idea what they're talking about.
You're like, I'm a physical guy. I'm a firefighter. Yeah.
Give me something I can do. Give me some hands-on stuff, but I can't do that. But to try to go into the mindset of understanding the numbers and figuring out what is a deal and what's not a deal, and Chad's ability to just kind of put this stuff together, it's like a magician, man. He just like, man, this kid's impressive.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm doing here, but I like this guy. This guy is fired up, and I love the way he communicates, and I love his style, and I love the fact that he's got this business sense to him that just makes so much sense, and he makes it like you can do this, man.
Calm down, Chad. He's probably just like, yeah, I know. He's probably looking at Jen right now like, yeah, I know. He said it, not me. Just no, but I will say, like, and, he's younger than me,
he's my son's age. He's my son's age.
Extremely knowledgeable.
Yeah. And it just, I thought, okay, if I can just stay in proximity, that's all I got to do. I just got to stay in proximity to these people, because it's their mindset that I got to get back into. And Jason and Peely, especially Peely, was teaching mindset. But the whole time she was teaching the mindset portion of it, I'm just thinking, yeah, but you don't know where I am. You don't know what I've been through, man. You got no clue what my life's been like, man. And you want me to have mindset again? You don't realize what I've been through, man. And right now, I ain't in the mindset to do nothing but sit here and feel sorry for myself and try to pull myself out of it. But, man, you don't know what I've been through. And I'm not ready yet. I'm not ready to find the gift in this. I'm not ready to find the value of breaking your freaking neck 5 months after retirement, 10 years after burying your son, dealing with addiction, trying to save a marriage. You don't know what I've been through, and you're telling me to have a mindset to build this company for legacy. I've been living my whole life for legacy. What's it gotten me? A freaking broken neck. So the anger was still inside me, man. I could feel it, and I wasn't participating, but you know what? I knew I just got to stay in proximity, Rick. Just stay in proximity. Just keep listening. It's like the alcoholic going to AA. Just keep coming, man. Just keep coming back. Just keep coming back. Eventually, you'll buy into it. Eventually, you'll see it. So a year goes by, and I haven't done jack shit with this thing. I'm out 20 grand. I got nothing to show for it. I invested in one group, one guy. Got 50K of mine. I'm just praying to God he keeps paying me, because I've had to chase him down, man. I've had to rattle the cage. I've had to have the conversations with him, and he's been doing it. I mean, I'm not bad-mouthing him by any means, but I got 50K out on a equity line of credit in our home that's bringing us a return that I enjoy every month. But I don't know if I'm going to get it every month. And if he takes off and the economy crashes, now I'm out 50K too. And so I'm just, anger's building up inside me. And so I'm not, all that rage from all that crap that I had to deal with my grief is starting to come up to the surface, and I could feel it, and I could sense it, and my wife could sense it, and she could feel it. And she was just getting more frustrated, and she was just getting burnt out.
The energy
is
just building.
It's just building and building and building. Now she's got to go back to work. Now she's in a 9 to 5. She's for the insurance. I mean, it's just one thing after another. My poor wife's been through hell already, and now she's getting ready to turn 60, or well, she'll be 59, I think. She's getting ready to get in her upper years, and here she is. She's working harder than she's ever had to work in her life. And it's not fair. You guys don't understand. You don't get what's going on in my life. But I kept coming back. So a year later, haven't done much to it. I go to another event. This is the one that gets them to fire off so that they can get people to come into the next year mentorship. So I've been a whole mentor for a year, nothing to show for it other than the proximity, and I'm starting to get a little bit of handle on things, and I can see stuff, but now I'm looking at the economy. I don't know if this thing's going to work. But there was this man that they had speak as a keynote speaker. His name is Nick Santanastasso. And Nick, I think he's 28 years old.
This was last year.
This was last year.
Yeah.
This
Chad
was last
told me
year.
about that.
No legs and one arm. This guy toured for 4 years with Tony Robbins on his stage. Just a powerhouse of a young man. Just an incredible visionary, incredible victorious lifestyle. This kid was born with no legs and one arm, one of 12 kids ever born, and 8 of them have died. And this guy has turned his victim into victory.
He's crushing it.
And he is crushing it. I mean, he is crushing it. So he speaks, and I'm thinking to myself, man, this guy is freaking powerful. Holy cow, I love what this guy's saying. And I'm getting involved. And he walks us through this entire session of, mindset. And he says, okay, now that you've focused on what you think, your feelings that you think about yourself most often, do you think about it once a year, once a month, once a week, once a day, all day? Okay, how about this one? Now he walks through and get another emotion out there. Okay, you think about that once a year, once a month, once a day, once a week, once a day, all the time. So when it's all said and done, he asks if there's any volunteers that want to come up and share what their emotion that they think about most often. And my hand went up without me I didn't even raise it, dude. It just went up.
Yeah.
And I'm in the back row because I have to be in the back row because I need to be to where I got to get up and walk around and stretch, or my body just starts to seize up. And he sees my hand go up in the back row, and he goes, yeah, back row, come on up. I always tease him. I said, "You saw the mustache, didn't you? Huh?
It's just bright.
It was that fluorescent white. looked like a negative out there." So he calls me up, and I get to the stage and give me the mic. And all right, man. So what's your name? Rick Cheatham. Okay, Rick, tell me about your story. What's going on, man? What was it that you feel about yourself most often? I said, man, I feel useless. I just feel useless. I feel like I have no value to offer anymore. I feel like, why? Why even bother anymore? I've been through hell. And he says, well, why do you feel useless? I said, well, I broke my neck 5 months into retirement. I was paralyzed from the neck, from the chest down. My hands don't operate the way they used to. I was a fireman. I was a contractor. Everything was about my ability to perform with my hands, and now I have none of that. I just feel useless. And he asked me, do you think I'm useless? I said, well, no. I mean, you're crushing it, man. Look at you. You're up on stage. You've been touring with Tony Robbins and all that. He goes, well, I just thought I'd ask because you seem to put a lot of value on your body to perform. So I just thought I'd ask you, since my body's only got no legs and one arm, I thought maybe you thought I was useless.
Yeah.
And it's just like the light bulb went off, and I went, man, here I am telling a man with no legs and one arm that I feel useless because I can't move my hands the way I used to. I still got them. I can't move my body the way I used to. Still got them.
Mm-hmm.
Can't move my legs the way. Still got them. I got everything. And yet, here I am on a pity party for myself, feeling like I'm useless. So he walked me through the whole thing, and I thought, man, he's absolutely right. So afterwards, I went and I met him. I had to meet this man. So afterwards, I got a picture with him, met him. I said, dude, thank you. You gave me exactly what I needed to hear. I needed to hear what you had to say today. And from that was 1 year ago. From that day on, my life has completely changed. Changed so much so that 2 months ago, he offered on Instagram. I saw this Instagram thing pop up. I go, hey, man, that's Nick. Check it out. I didn't see him on Instagram. I mean, I don't follow Instagram that much, but hey, that's cool. So I started following it. And I thought, all right, what's this guy doing? Okay, he's teaching people how to be transformational speakers like him, and he's offering mentorship. I think, oh, man, that might be something I'll be interested in.
Yeah.
So he offers up this it was a 5-day course, or 5 days, and you can VIP for $47. I thought, $47? I'll do that. So I slammed down $47 in a heartbeat. Got to spend 5 days with him, an hour in general, admission, but VIP got an hour beforehand. So we got to really get some proximity to what Nick was doing and what he was teaching. And as I walked through this whole thing, you know what it came out to? I had so much anger, so much resentment, so much hostility built up in my head, feeling sorry for me. I was a victim of my circumstances. I was a victim of the man who murdered my son. I was a victim of the man who stole my kid's brother away. I was a victim of the man who was just tormenting my wife and her emotional pain that she had to deal with. And it was angering me more and more and more. And then I fall and break my neck. Now I'm a victim of my fall. Why didn't I call my wife? I was feeling lightheaded at the toilet. Why didn't I just call her and help her, help me to bed?
Yeah.
No, I had to do it myself, and I fall and I break my neck. I was having all this anger and all this resentment. And what I discovered was I never did forgive. I didn't forgive myself.
That's the key.
I didn't forgive the man that murdered my son. I didn't forgive the situations that had caused so much trauma in my life, and I was really becoming a victim of it. But my thoughts in my head, I was trying to overcome it, but I wasn't. I kept pushing all that anger and all that resentment and all that unforgiveness. Just kept pushing it down and pushing it down and pushing it down. It was kept coming up in different areas of my life. Long story short, I was able to forgive. It was like the light came on.
Just clicked.
It just clicked. And I went, you know what? I get it. I've been holding on to this baggage of unforgiveness for so long, I just didn't even know it. So I ended up making it a point. I said, okay, here's the deal. Frank Real, he's the man that murdered my son. I forgive you, brother. I forgive you with everything I've got because I see what my heart has caused me holding on. I forgive you for what you did to my children. I forgive you for what you did to my wife. And I even forgive you that there's a legacy, there's a branch of the Cheatham tree that I will never see. I will never see grandchildren on that lineage ever again. But you know what? I've got kids, and their lineage will live on. And I have the opportunity right here and right now to change the entire lineage of my family tree by just learning how to forgive the unforgivable. So, Frank, I forgive you. But then I had to forgive myself. Rick, I forgive you for being a victim for the last 3 years. I forgive you for not being there for your son when he needed you the most. I forgive you for not being there for your children when they needed you the most. And I forgave myself. And when I was able to do those two things, forgive him and forgive myself, everything just like, whoa, I'm back. Crap.
A whole
This
new man.
feels awesome. I'm back. This is the guy I've been searching for. This is who I've been waiting to become. But my own anger wouldn't allow me to get there. God, thank you. Thank you for allowing me to fall and break my damn neck so I can get reset again. Thank you for putting me in proximity of Chad and Jason and Peely and Bill. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to live life again. I'm 62. I'll be 62 next month. Thank you. I've got my 60s, I've got my 70s, and I've got my 80s. Hell, I may even have my 90s, and I'm ready to go fire up the world. We can do this, Rick. We've got this. You know how to do it. You've done it so many times in your life before. This is your real hero story, zero to hero story. This is it. That's what needs to be. See, all this time I was thinking, I got to go build this freaking empire in real estate to be heard. Bullshit. All you got to do is go share your damn life.
Yeah.
Your story is your hero story.
Yes.
You've lived a life of a hero. You've lived it over and over and over again. And now you got the opportunity to take your story and go transform the lives of how many people that you're going to affect. And my life just changed. It's like the light bulb came on and I went, thank you, Lord, that I didn't quit. Thank you that you gave me the grace to be to fall, to fail, to get back up and do it again and do it again and do it again. Thank you for teaching me how to have faith, not only in myself, but in you, that even though I went through all this trauma, even though I went through all this tragedy, even though I had to go through all of this dark pain, you're going to use it for your glory.
Yeah.
Praise you, Jesus, for giving me the information to get on the other side of this. Now, God, with your help, I want to transform the lives of the people I come in contact, because I'm not the only one suffering out there, man. There are so many people suffering their own pain, their own tragedy, their own stories, and they need hope, just like Nick gave me hope, just like Anthony gave me hope. Just like being in proximity to the fellas we were just mentioning, they gave me hope. And now that hope is a fire, and it's deep inside me, and it's unstoppable. And so my journey now has taken me to the next level where I get to transform the lives of other people, and I get to use my fire background as the backdrop. Here's the guy that's been doing it all these years out here in the trenches of tragedy and trauma. And now he gets to do it on a personal level with so many more people. There's this thing we have in the fire service when we have to deal with mass casualty events. You get overwhelmed, man. When you walk onto a scene and you've got people screaming and crying and yelling and help, help, and wanting to come over, it's so easy to get sidetracked to where you don't know where to start. And you get overwhelmed, and we say, you start spinning, and you start spinning, and now you become of no use to anyone. Well, the thing we taught every single person who gets in that kind of situation is you start where you stand. So the minute I get out of that rig, I'm standing right here. This is where I start. Who's the first victim? Boom, right there. That's where I go.
Yeah.
I don't listen. I don't need to listen to all the chaos. I don't need to see all the burning. I don't need to see everything else. I need to see the first person. Well, in my life, I've learned to start where you stand. And I stand with me. I stand right here. When I get this right, when I get my mind right, my mind will get me anywhere I want to go. Because my mind is the instrument that creates. And I've got a creator that lives in me. And between me and him, we get to start where I stand. And today, I stand a man of purpose. I stand here as a man with passion. I stand here as a man with power. And it's the power to overcome anything life throws at you. You don't have an excuse with me. Just like I didn't have an excuse with Nick.
Yeah.
You don't have an excuse with me. I don't give a shit where your marriage is. You can overcome this. I don't care where you are with your addiction. You can overcome this. I don't care if you buried your son. I don't even care if you fell and broke your neck. You can start where you stand, and where you stand is where you are in your mind. That's my message. That's the power that's going to transform lives, and that's what I'm all about now. And that's all because I got to get in proximity with people and hear stories and listen to their life and how they've overcome. And it's made an impact on me now where it's just like, all right, brother.
Yeah.
It's time to start taking out the fires in lives now.
Dude, I tell you what, man. I mean, you've got me fired up. I want to flip this table, but I don't want to have to get a new table or nothing or any new equipment. But what I'm saying is like, it's all like perspective shift.
Yeah.
Just because you're listening to Nick's story or somebody else's story, it's not a matter of like someone's story is harder than yours or whatever, but it's just the fact that you're willing to still own your experience because that is unique to you.
Right.
Their story isn't yours. But being able to understand that and see through their eyes and put yourself in someone else's shoes and be like, okay, now how can I handle this the way maybe they are? Because you get people that never want to make comparison. Like I'll talk to people and they're like, nothing compared to you. And I'm like, we're not ever making comparisons.
That's not what it's about.
It's not about a comparison, but it's about the fact that it's like maybe just put yourself in someone else's shoes that's like really getting it and seeing what they've been through and trying to like understand that a little bit and progress in your life maybe the way they have. But your own way, right? But just trying to that little perspective shift is all it takes to really just take off.
Right.
And it's such a simple thing. It really is, but it's so hard for people to do. And, but I think a lot of it circles around to that forgiveness because they're unable to forgive maybe the situations they've been through. That's something, I mean, we're talking right now and you've got me reflecting on that because I've got a lot of anger built up and things that I've like, just been, I've talked to my therapist about it, my wife, and I'm like so mad, and it's frustrating. You get just angry about things and it's like, oh,
not fair.
And you can feel that it holds you back a little bit, but, so really, I think there's something to be said about, I could sit here and say I forgive somebody all day long. But is that genuine? But truly from your heart forgiving, and that's something I'm going to learn how to do, after this conversation is like genuinely forgive. And I don't have to go tell them, but like learning how to release it from my heart because there's things, that maybe I've said I've forgiven, but I'm just still pissed about. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I mean, there's nothing wrong with having a chip on your shoulder to fire you up in a way. But I think learning how to do that is a huge thing. And I've seen what it's done for you. You've inspired the hell out of me, Rick. I mean, this is by far, I'm so stoked about this to come out and be shared with the world.
I'm stoked to have it shared, man.
Yeah, man.
You think about that unforgiving heart. That's a poison that runs through us. This resentment and this anger and this bitterness that's in our heart, it's a poison that affects us.
Yeah.
It's a lot like a snake bite. The snake bites you, but that freaking snake's gone, man.
Yeah.
So what are you going to do with the snake? The snake's gone. My snake's in prison for the rest of his life, but his poison has run through my veins for 10 freaking years.
Yeah.
And that poison was killing me. And I had to get the poison out. And the only way to get the poison out after being bit by your snake is you got to learn how to forgive the snake. The snake's just being a snake, man. That's all a snake knows how to do. And the poison is what you know how to do. Get rid of it, or you can hang on to it. And if you hang on to it, you're going to die.
And, you know, the fact that you were able to forgive something to that magnitude really sheds light on a lot of situations. And it makes me like, be like, well, why the hell can't I just let these things go? Because, man, like I told you, like I have a daughter now, and it makes it that much more real. Like, holy shit. And you don't think about those things. People tend to not really think about the bigger picture and those things like that. But, man, it's just really hard for me. It's a hard pill for me to swallow. And I'm like, dude, there's so much power in that. Like, what an insanely beautiful thing. So I appreciate you, you know, being able to share that kind of wisdom too, man.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
I mean, this whole discussion, I mean, honestly, I haven't really had much to say because I've just been taking it all in. I mean, you tell your story so well, and as if like you're just walking me along this journey, and I'm just like with you along it. And so for you to be able to like put it out in that kind of way, I mean, you're going to make waves as far as like the people you impact and the stages you're on. And I'm excited to see it, man. But man, you've got me fired up.
Glad.
I'm ready to change I need to start the day over just so I can get started back at it again, you know? And I do want to take it back because I do want to ask this question. And you can either answer it or not. Given what you've experienced and what you've been going, you're this whole journey, right? And where you're at today and seeing how much your life has changed. If you could say anything to your son right now, what would you say?
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for following your heart. Even though it cost you your life, because you were willing to give your life for what you believed in. And he taught me how to give mine for what I believe in. I give my son gratitude. I give all my children, both sons, my daughter. I thank them daily for what they teach me, especially after all they've been through. So that would be what I would say to Michael.
Hell yeah.
Thank you, baby. You saved us and you rescued us. You rescued us from where we were headed. And that was down a road that was just going to be mediocre. You know, just a safe, enjoy your retirement, go on some river trips. Just, you know, that's not where I need to be.
No.
I can't be safe. I got to be on the edge, and I've got to be testing my faith, and I've got to be following him in the direction he takes me, because I don't know where I'm headed, man. I really don't. All I know is I've been hanging on with God for all these years, and he hadn't let me down yet, even when I thought he did. But he's been in communication with me. He's been leading me. He's been guiding me, and I don't know that I would have had that without Mike.
It's like you're a firefighter. You throw yourself in fires, essentially. Thanks to Mike, you're throwing yourself in fires in a different
way.
You know,
totally different way.
You said,
yeah.
like you said, you don't know what you're into or whatever, getting into or whatever. This is all new to you, but it's just throwing yourself into new types of fires, right? But it's here, and so
fire that goes on in our minds.
Yeah, and I think you know, I don't know your family. I want to meet them all now. Like I'm coming to a cookout soon. No, but you know what I can say is understanding you. You know, I think the greatest honor you can give to people that you've lost is living with purpose and using their spirit to carry on and do great things. And I think you're doing that. Yeah. You know, you're using your son's spirit's with you, and he's living through you now.
He's not gone.
He's not. Yeah, exactly. He's with you guys.
He's not gone, man. Michael is more alive today than he's ever been in my life.
Yeah, and for
he's
those
with me.
Yep.
Every single day.
And for those out there suffering with deep loss, like live for those people.
Absolutely. When you turn that corner, when that script gets flipped and you realize that they're not gone. They just went to a different realm. They're in a different reality. That's all it is.
Yeah.
They're still here.
Yeah.
And I feel him all the time. I sense him all the time. I've spoken with him. I mean, I know he's real. I know he's alive. He's just not where I can see him. He's not in a realm where I can touch him. But he's so real in me that I can't help but feel his presence.
Yeah. I mean,
every day.
that's the thing, that all this stuff, everything here is material. It's all going to burn down, you know, but what's eternal is our soul. And you can feel those things that are real. That's the true value. And so you can feel that.
Right.
Yeah.
There was something that Michael said, you know, when he said, what are you afraid of? You know, if you die, you go to heaven. Isn't that what you always taught us? So what's the big deal? It's like, you know what, really, what is the big deal?
Yeah.
The big deal is we become so centered on ourselves when we lose that we don't have any way of digging out of the pit because we just feel sorry for ourselves. And I get it. I totally get it. I was 10 years in it, so I get it. But until you do what you said, you got to live with honoring them. How do you live with honoring those you've lost? You honor them by honoring yourself and being of value to other people.
Yeah.
And when you can do that, you bring honor not only to those folks and to yourself, but you bring honor to the ones that are already gone. Because that's what this is about. This is about a legacy, man.
Yeah.
This has nothing to do about Michael dying. This is about what is the legacy going to be for our family going forward. Are we going to continue to live in the legacy of tragedy and the victimization that comes along with it and the trauma that comes along with it? Or are we going to live with purpose, with passion, and with power? That's what this is about.
Yeah.
Nothing more, nothing less.
I love it, man. Hell yeah, Rick. Well, hey, I'd love to bring you back. I know we're closing out here. You know, I'd love to bring you back just to talk on different topics.
Sure,
and
absolutely.
and bring about value. You know, got your story. We'll bring about some different value just from, you know, wisdom and just different things. I think we can go off on a million different avenues. But man, this is insanely, like, I couldn't be more grateful.
Well,
Yeah.
It's the honor's mine, man.
Hell yeah.
It's all mine.
Good stuff. But I do got to ask you, I in this, first of all, do you have anything else you want to hit on before we close out?
No, I just, I'd like to be able to have people get a hold of me if they can, if that's possible. I'd like.
Yeah. Go ahead and tell everybody where to find you.
I'm kind of new to the whole social media thing, other than Facebook, because that's where the old folks go. But I'm on Facebook at Rick Cheatham.
Okay.
On Facebook, Ricky C AFD. That's RICKYC AFD, as in Anaheim Fire Department. On Instagram, and then my email, which is probably the best way to get a hold of me and schedule out anything that you need, is at rkconsulting292 at gmail.com. So it's rkconsulting at 292 at gmail.com.
Nice. Hell yeah. Well, thank you for that. Yeah. And we'll make sure that's up, and I'll try to remember to edit some in there so it like displays it as well. But the last thing to ask you, and you pretty much said this in multiple ways, but what is your relentless pursuit?
Freedom from self-bondage.
Yeah.
Because if I can be free, I can set other people free.
Amen to that.
We are all in bondage to something, man.
Yep. That's a fact. Rick, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I appreciate that.
Thank
Yes,
you
sir.
so much.
Hey, y'all have a good one.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Hell yeah. What do you think?
Dude, that was amazing.
That's what I like.
Dude, you got it rocking, man. I love this.
Thanks, man.
This is the perfect format. I tell you, I don't think I've ever felt more comfortable or more empowered than in this arena.
Let's go. Dude, that's like the best review you could ever get.
It did something for me, man.
Hell yeah, man.